Yeah, I kind of define creativity as, I'm going to say divine, but it's not true. But it is almost something that is spiritual, or maybe just something that is innate passion. You know what I mean? It's something that exists within the minds and hopefully the hearts of anyone who wants to put forth art or entertainment or storytelling. And people who just need to express. You know, I think the greatest creativity comes out of physical performers. You know, dancers especially. People who have no other way to express what they're feeling and what they're thinking, but through some kind of physical form. I think that has a lot to do with creativity. Well, for someone like me, because I don't write, because I just tell other people's stories, then it's a matter of just finding that source material. You know, that really triggers something in me emotionally or comedically or dramatically. You know what I mean? Either the conflict is so great or the character relationships are great. Whenever I'm working on musicals, it all has to do with the music. You know what I mean? If the chord structure is kind of built in that 4-chord rock and roll kind of setting, you know, and it's very visceral and primal according to the 1950s. You know, like that is something that will spark interest and creativity, I think, within me. Whenever I am directing and whenever I'm collaborating, you know, I try to come in with a pretty strong vision of what I've seen in the work, what I've seen in the script, from numerous reads of the material, and I will come in with that kind of overall thing. For Say You Love Satan, I said, now this is really dark material, but I want it to play almost like sitcom. You know, I almost want it to feel like an episode of Will and Grace or Friends, you know, and not this whole I'm gonna lose my soul by meeting the devil's son. So when I came in, you know, I was throwing things at them, like watch episodes of Will and Grace, watch some of these gay movies, watch Broken Hearts Club, watch Trick. You know, these things, they're just kind of fluff and light. And then I said things like, watch Rosemary's Baby so you can get the overall like paranoia and horror. I like to function from a place of pop culture. You know what I mean? I kind of feel like that is an instant reference guide for anyone who's collaborating, and especially because a lot of our art now is beyond postmodern. You know what I mean? I found a term that I really liked. It was post-ironic theater. And I thought that was the most brilliant thing I had ever heard. You know, it's kind of like, yeah, we're through with irony. We're through with making fun of irony. Now we're making fun of the fact that we made fun of making fun of irony. You know, and just all of those kinds of things. Plays like Bat Boy and Urinetown, you know, shows that we haven't done yet, that hopefully we will, that live in that meta theater kind of realm as well. You know, we acknowledge that some things are hokey and stupid, and we try to celebrate that. So you get everyone together on a big idea like that, and then all of my collaborators, designers, will go off and do their own research. Well, so if it's set in a time period, you know, that helps a lot. You know, if we can root something in 1960s, 1950s, for Say Love Satan, we chose early millennium, you know, pre-9/11, and that really made a difference. And so then they all come in with their different ideas, and hopefully they come in with like maybe 2 or 3 options for me, you know, and we'll kind of pick those apart, and then we'll start marrying the different ideas together and trying to find what gives unity from each different person's perspective, so that can fit the overall. I mean, it's kind of like being an instructor of an art class, you know, that idea of, well, there's no way to do it wrong, and there's no way to do it right, you know what I mean? It depends on the taste, and it depends on what kind of quality you're going for. Are you going for something that's really raw, or are you going for something that's really commercial? And sometimes I think that helps to narrow down the choices. You know, doing something that's supposed to feel like a garage band is going to be a lot more chaotic and free than doing something that is supposed to look like a national tour, you know, or a headliner on Vegas. I mean, I think that's like the epitome of gloss, is a Vegas act. So I think sometimes that helps to narrow things down. I don't know. I mean, it's also listening to your collaborators. A lot of times I think I have the ultimate idea of what a show should be in a position as artistic director. And then someone will mention something either so abstract or so humorous or you know, that produces goosebumps, and you go, yes, absolutely, we've got to engage every idea with that. You know, that is the quintessential plan for all of us. In theater, I think things tend to be very formulaic as well. Broadway is the biggest place where you'll find that. You know, someone adapts a film into a musical, something like Hairspray, and they took something that was such a bizarre mainstream film in John Waters' Hairspray, and they decided, okay, if we put these book writers with it, and if we put these musicians with it, then we'll get something that is a little more mainstream. And then how do we appeal in that way? And someone else will look at it and go, that was a great formula. Now let's do it with The Wedding Singer or Urban Cowboy, and they miss it. You know what I mean? I think if you follow too many rules, you miss the boat. You miss the whole point of what is that, that impulse, that instinct to be creative and to be silly. This is kind of a bad influence thing to say, but some of the best ideas come from getting drunk with your friends and hanging out, you know what I mean? Enjoy a nice meal, whatever it is, however you substitute that. And just start talking about the weird notions that come to mind, maybe through dreams, or maybe through seeing someone else's work, and you say, now, I want to emulate that, but in my own way. Another thing that has helped a lot of my artist friends, there's a book called The Artist's Way that was written by, I think it was John Cameron's wife, Lisa Cameron? Don't quote me. But The Artist's Way is a book where they take people who had dreams in childhood. You know, I mean, they had goals. You ask a kid what they want to be when they grow up, and as children, we do have this raw sense of imagination, and we're kind of coached out of that, either through education and academics, or through our parents, or even our friends telling us, you know, that's not stable. A career choice in creative arts is unstable, but that's the kind of thing that corporate, you know, I think corporate heads and mass media, those are the people they want to hire. You know, they want to hire those people who are these free spirits who can be molded, you know, into something that will give them a great commercial product. Vice versa, I think people who are used to creating a great commercial product can totally think outside the box and create something that's maybe stupid initially, because again, as children, we do really stupid things. We're not afraid to make fools of ourselves, and I think that is the greatest asset of any collaborator in theater, is they're all willing to take risks to make themselves look stupid. And hopefully through the teamwork of being with each other, you find the best ideas, you know, and that's where that confidence comes from. Well, and it's tricky, especially, you know, when you're working on either new work or when you're a fledgling company, kind of like Egads Theater is right now. You know, we're trying to work with as many different artists and collaborators as possible, so that hopefully it will kind of narrow down to being this core company of people that you do really trust and people that you know won't play it safe. You know, they won't pull up an old design and say, we've got to do it this way because it worked before, but we're going to change the color. You know, you have to find different ways for those good ideas to remanifest. I mean, trust is a huge issue that I continue to work on. I'm someone who likes to micromanage. That's one of the reasons why I'm the artistic director of the theater company, as well as directing all 4 shows this year. Now, in the future, you know, we will interview other directors to come in and start playing in our playground. But right now, it is kind of a clubhouse of these exclusive members that we do trust unconditionally, and that's the biggest thing. Is that unconditional trust, you know, to put your ego in check, take a step back and say, you do what you think is best. Show me that. We'll keep talking about it, and hopefully if it has to change, if it has to adapt, no one will feel like they compromised their own artistic integrity.